Wonder of the Wasteland, Chapter 11, Part 4. The days passed into months. Summer came again, and the vast oval bowl of desert glowed in the rosy sunrise, glared in the white noon hours, and burned at sunset. The moving heat veil smoked in rippling clouds over the Salton Sink. The pale wavering line of the Superstition Mountains changed mysteriously with each day. The fog clouds from the Pacific rolled over to lodge against the fringed peaks. Time did not mean anything to the desert, though it worked so patiently and ceaselessly in its infinite details. The desert might have worked for eternity. Its moments were but the months that were growing into years of Adam's life. Again he saw San Jacinto and San Giorgio, crowned with snow that gleamed so white against the blue. Once Charlie Jim showed Adam a hole in the gravel and sand of a gully where Dismukes had dug out a pocket of gold. Adam gathered that the Indian had brought Dismukes here. "White man gold mad," said the chief. "No happy little gold. Want dig all heap. Hog damn fool." So Charlie Jim characterized Dismukes. Evidently there had been some just cause, which he didn't explain, for his bringing Dismukes into this hidden canyon. And also there was some significance in his bringing Adam there. Many had been the rewards of Charlie Jim and his family for saving and succoring Adam. "Indian show eagle heap gold," said Charlie Jim, and led him to another gully opening down into the canyon. In the dry sand and gravel of this wash, Adam found gold. The discovery gave him a wonderful thrill, but it did not drive him mad. Adam divined in the dark, impassive face of his guide something of the Indian's contempt for a white man's frenzy over gold. Then the chief said in his own tongue that the Indian paid his debt to friend and foe, good for good and evil for evil, that there were white men to whom he could trust the secret treasures of the desert. The day came when something appeared to stimulate the wandering spirit of the Cohilla chief. Taking his family and Adam, he began a nomadic quest for change of scene and a work of idleness. The life suited Adam, for he knew Charlie Jim did not frequent the trails of white men. No time so swiftly fleeting as days and nights out in new and strange places of the desert. Adam kept track of time by the coming and going of the white crowns of snow on the green peaks, and by the green and gold and then barren gray of the cottonwoods. Like coming home, it was to get back to the oasis of the canyon of the Chocolate Range. Adam loved the scene of his torture. Every stone, every tree was familiar friend and seemed to whisper welcome to him. Here also had passed the long, long months of mental anguish. On this flat rock he'd sat a whole day in hopeless pain. In this sandy-floored Isle of Palms he'd walked hour by hour through many weary days, possessed by the demon of remorse. Best of all, out there reached the gray, endless expanse of desert, so lonely and melancholy and familiar, extending away to the infinitude of purple distance. And there loomed the lofty, bare heights of rock, which when he scaled them as an Indian climbing to meet his spirits, seemed to welcome him with sweet, cold winds in his face. How he thrilled at sight of the winding gleam of the Rio Colorado. What a shudder, as keen and new a pang as ever wrenched him at sight of Picacho. It didn't change. He had expected that. It towered there in the dim lilac colors of the desert horizon, colossal and commanding, immutable and everlasting, like the sin he had committed on its shadow. Somewhere in the shadow of that doom, the turreted peak, lay the grave of his brother Gerd. "I'll go back someday," whispered Adam, and the spoken words seemed the birth of a long germinating idea. Picacho haunted him. It called him. It was the place that had given gray color and life to his destiny. And suddenly into his memory flashed an image of Margarita, poor, frail, dusky-eyed girl. She'd been but the instrument of his doom. He held her guiltless. Long ago he had forgiven her, but memory of her hurt. Had she not spoken so lightly of what he meant to hold sacred? "Ah, Señor, so long ago and far away." Faithless, mindless, soulless. Adam would never forget, never a sight of a green Palo Verde, but a pang struck through his breast. At sunset, the old chief came to Adam, somber and grave, but with dignity and kindness, tempering the seriousness of his aspect. He spoke the language of his people. "White man, you are of the brood of the eagle. Your heart is the heart of an Indian. You take my daughter, Huia, as your wife." Long had Adam feared this blow, and now it had fallen. He had tried to pay his debt, but it could not be paid. No, chief, the white man cannot marry Huia. He has blood upon his hands, a price on his head. Someday he might have to hang for his crime. He cannot be dishonest with the Indian girl who saved him. Perhaps the chief had expected that reply, but his inscrutable face showed no feeling. He made one of his slow, impressive gestures, a wave of his hand indicating great distance and time, and it meant that Adam was to go. Adam dropped his head. That decree was irrevocable, and he knew it. While he packed for a long journey, twilight stole down upon the Indian camp. Adam knew when he faced Huia in the shadow of the palms that she had been told. Was this the Indian maiden who had been so shy, so strange? No, this seemed a woman of full heaving breast, whose strong dark face grew strained, whose magnificent eyes, level and piercing, searched his soul. How blind he'd been. All about her seemed eloquent of a woman's love. His heart beat with quick, heavy throbs. "Huia, your father has ordered me away," said Adam. "I'm an outcast. I'm a hunted man. If I made you my wife, it might be to your shame and to your sorrow." "Stay. Huia is not afraid. We will hide in the canyons," she said. "No, I have sinned. I have blood on my hands, but Huia, I am not dishonorable. I will not cheat you." "Take me," she cried, and the soft, deep-toned, passionate voice shook Adam's heart. She would share his wonderings. "Goodbye, Huia," he said huskily, and he strode forth to drive his burro out into the lonely, melancholy desert night. End of chapter 11.